Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
From September 1st, 1988 to December 31st, 1994, I worked as a tax consultant for the firm of Coopers & Lybrand, which was at the time a Big Six accounting firm. It's now part of PricewaterhouseCoopers. It was a great job. It was great pay. Worked with a lot of great companies, Wendy's International, suppliers to Honda, did stuff with Ohio State University. A lot of smaller clients you would never have heard of, but it was a great experience. But I left on December 31st, 1994. And on January 1st, 1995, I entered the private practice of law out of a spare room in our house. My wife and I, we had a house and no kids at the time, but we had a spare room. We think we had a dog, but at any rate, on January 1st, 1995, everything changed. Everything changed in how I approached work. I was self-employed. I had to make it happen. And there's a whole journey that went with it. It wasn't smooth. It was, I had the knowledge, I had the know-how, I had the drive. There certainly was a lot to it, but everything sort of changed. Well, maybe not on January 1. It's New Year's Day. But the Monday that followed, or the first work day that followed, I should say, I was at it. And it used to be that on a Saturday morning, when I was working for the firm, I would go into the office. Not every week, a lot of weeks, certainly during the busy season. I would go into the office, and I wouldn't lament it necessarily, but I wouldn't be excited about it. But when I worked for myself, and that phone in my home office rang Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, I was up. I was out of bed. I was answering the phone. I had a new drive to me, and it was very liberating. And I'm not encouraging people to quit their jobs and be self-employed if that's not what you want to do. If it's what you want to do, there is a life doing it. But what I noticed is that my network started to grow. It started to change. It was, one, I was not at the firm and just kind of going into the same office, being surrounded by the same people day in and day out. And they were good people, don't get me wrong, but it was the same people. Every day, when you're self-employed, every day is different. So January 1, 1995, I really started building a network. Because I sort of had to, but people were attracted to me. So that's my story. Let me tell you another story. Someone I've really gotten to know over the years, for the last few years, Mary Jenkins. Mary Jenkins is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And when she was battling breast cancer, she lost her job. Single mom. She was widowed. Lost her husband. Single mom, diagnosed with breast cancer, having to go through chemo. This was not early stage breast cancer. And got kids, lost her job, going to be evicted. What do you do? I mean, those are just some real challenges. You think you have problems. That's a problem. And you're trying to make a decision. How are you going to feed your kids? What's going to happen? It's no safety net, no nothing. And ultimately, she went to her church and said, I need some money so I don't get evicted. And they gave her money. And her pastor told her, he said, this is your calling. Here's some money, but there's something here for you. What Mary had learned is that there are a lot of wonderful cancer charities out there, and they raise lots and lots of money, and mainly the money is raised for research, and it's not raised to take care of people like Mary who are in their situation. And there are just a lot of people out there who have to make a hard choice. Do I go to work and skip my treatment so the lights can stay on and we can continue to eat? Or do I risk eviction and go get my treatment And that's a hard choice for a lot of people. Maybe not for you, certainly not for me. We're blessed. But for a lot of people, that's a challenge. And that was the challenge Mary went through. And that said about Mary creating what is now called the Cancer Option Collaborative. Used to be called Christians Overcoming Cancer. It's very inclusive. She didn't want it to be seem like it was not inclusive, so they changed the name of it. Neither here nor there. But Mary surrounds herself with lots of great people, and I get it. It's a charity, right? But she's got a purpose. She's got a purpose, and that purpose attracts people to her. It's not the fact that it's a charity. There are lots of charities out there, but it's just the way that charity drives her that draws people to her. Another story, Brian Wallenberg. Brian Wallenberg started a charity, started really a movement called the Byron Saunders Foundation. I don't even know if Byron Saunders really exists, but he started collecting money, raising money, collecting food to feed people at Thanksgiving. Started with, 15 people. But it's just an incredible purpose. And he talks about that purpose, and it just draws people to him. Draws people like Jen Rout. It draws people like Gina Winterstein. Draws really neat people to him, and every year they have this big gala, and they feed probably 5,000 people a year. People are drawn to him because he's got a purpose. Okay, it's a charity. But I look at Lewis Howes, and many of you might be familiar with Lewis. His book, School of Greatness. He's got a podcast, School of Greatness. He's really done some wonderful things. I met Lewis back in 2007 when he was in Columbus, just really kind of getting a start, living on his sister's couch, kind of down and out. But he has grown to what he has done, certainly through hard work. Don't get me wrong, it's been hard work. But people are attracted to him because he's got a purpose. In my mind, that's the secret sauce. Him having a purpose. Yeah, he helps a lot of people. He's with his School of Greatness, he profiles lots of people, and that certainly helps them. With the event he does in Columbus, Ohio once a year, he certainly elevates, people who are on stage, people who are in the audience. But it's the purpose that really drives people, that people want to be around him, that people want to subscribe to what he's doing, actually and figuratively. But it's because of that. It's having a purpose. So the point of this particular episode is have a purpose. Have a purpose. If you want to attract people to you, you want to build a network, then have a purpose. Money's got to be part of the equation. For me, yeah, I needed money. I was having a law practice. I needed money. We had a house. There were bills to pay. You just, it can't be, you just can't give it all away. So there's got to be money involved. And I'm not saying that can't be part of your purpose. Mary Jenkins has got to live. Brian Wallenberg's got to live. Lewis Howes has to live. I have to live. So money can be part of it, but that can't be the only thing. There's a book out there. If you get a chance, grab it. It's called Selling with Noble Purpose. It's by Lisa Earl McLeod, and she worked for a consulting firm. And what they found, they were actually looking at successful salespeople, and they found that the salespeople who sold with noble purpose, people who truly wanted to make a difference to customers, consistently outsold the salespeople who were there mainly just to hit the sales goal. Mama needs a new pair of shoes kind of a mentality. That's the only reason I'm here. I'm just here for the money. But if you have that purpose, and I think we can all sort of have a purpose in our lives. I have a purpose with AmSpirit Business Connections. I really want to try and help people become more successful. I know how hard it is. To become self-employed, to take that leap of faith and say, okay, I'm going to do it, and feel like you're all alone. And it is very lonely. It can be very lonely. But that's my purpose. And I find that the more I lean into that purpose, that more people are attracted to me. More people want to talk to me. And whenever I talk to somebody and help somebody, they can't help but asking, what can I do for you? I had a call yesterday. The call turned into a total me helping this other person. Introduced to me by a woman by the name of Michelle Murder, who's one of our directors in AmSpirit. She got on the call and she goes, "Why are we talking? I don't understand." I said, "Well, Michelle just realizes that you're a good person. She thinks I'm a good person, and just wanted us to meet." And in having the conversation, it was very clear that this woman was struggling. And in my mind, I knew why she was struggling. And it goes to some of the things I've said on this podcast. There are only 3 reasons why you don't get referrals. You don't have the relationship. People don't see what can't recognize opportunities for you, or they don't know how to talk about those opportunities with others. Don't know how to talk about you. Well, with this person, she clearly had relationships, and what she did was not hard to talk about. I could just see that people didn't understand what she was about. And I won't get into that. I don't want to rat her out on this, but we had a nice conversation about it. I told her, I said, I don't think people understand what it is that you do in your mind, and it was 30 minutes of me just going and trying to help her and kind of giving her ideas. And at the end, she just was kind of dumbfounded and kind of looking at me. Well, what can I do to help you? So my point is if you, and I didn't charge her for this, right? It's just me helping people. I know it's going to come back to me. But if you lean into having that noble purpose, whatever that purpose is, Lewis Howes does really well for himself, and I'm happy for him. But he does well for lots of people, and he's got a purpose for what he's doing. So you can have both. You can have a purpose, and you can make money. They're not mutually exclusive. But it's got to be a person. It's got to be a purpose it's got to be more than just the money. But when you have that purpose, people are drawn to you. The other thing that I quickly want to point out, and I ran across a quick article in my trusty newsletter, Cyblog, that people who have purpose in life are healthier and live longer. So you become more successful and you live longer. What more do you need? What more do you need to have a purpose in your life and to really double down and just say, this is what I'm about? And it doesn't mean you can't change positions. I know a guy who was a financial advisor and now he's becoming a financial coach. He's like, I've helped people make millions. I just realized that there's more to it, and I can make a decent living helping people get that first leg up in business. He still has a purpose, helping people financially. He's just kind of changed it. So anyhow, figure out what it is about what you do that you love. And if you don't, find something. Please find something. Because if you want to grow a network, it's having a purpose. People will, when you lean into that purpose and really want to help other people, people will be attracted to you, and you'll build a wonderful network. And more than just building a wonderful network, you'll have a longer, healthier life.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.